Hello, my name is Joshelle Anderson, and I am the owner of Just a Little Business, LLC, where we offer business and leadership coaching, single member LLC setup, business plan creation, and professional resume writing. But most importantly, we offer small business membership plans that help startups and home businesses go from uncertainty and feeling overwhelmed to clarity and organization. If you require any of these services, please give us a call at 469-340-3208. We can't wait to take your business to the next level. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight, my special guest is Hazel Sims Robinson. She's a professional accountant and owner of H.I.S, sorry about that, Tax and Financial Services. Welcome, Hazel. How are you?
I am well. How are you today? Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm glad to have you. So before we get started and you tell us a little bit about yourself, what does H.I.S stand for?
It is the acronym of H.I.S, my father.
Okay. Okay, I like that. So tell us all about yourself. What do you offer and what do you do?
Well, my name is Hazel Sims Robinson. I'm the owner of H.I.S Tax and Financial Services. I am an accountant at a mental health facility, and I own H.I.S Tax and Financial Services. Basically, I prepare individual partnerships and corporation tax returns, as well as offer financial guidance to help them impact their financial sound of their tax returns.
Okay. So when we think about home businesses, because that's basically what I'm really interested in, startups and home businesses, what kind of deductions can you help a home business save when they're doing their taxes?
Well, there's many deductions they can have. If they are in a home office, they can deduct their home telephone, the fax machine, and their cable services. If you have a television in your office, in your home office, you can write off your cable bill. So
Okay.
that's one of the biggest benefits. And also, if you have cleaning services, you have someone come into your house to clean your house, you can deduct a portion of that if they're cleaning your office.
Okay. I never thought about someone cleaning my house. So I always think about my internet, the space that I'm using, so much of the space that I'm using. I think about part of my taxes on my mortgage, things like that. Are those things accountable?
Well, when you are doing the deduction, when you deduct the office space, you're deducting that portion of it. It's all included in there, but it's certain things like I was saying your cable bill, because if you have a television in your office, you can deduct the whole amount of the cable bill. So
Okay.
yes, and the whole amount of the house. If you're using the house phone, some people have their house phone connected to their fax machine. They can services. And if you have the landscaper come out and cut your grass, the portion that's in front of the office space, you can deduct as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Yes.
So why is it important to have a professional, as a business, have a professional process your taxes versus if you're not sure how to process taxes, trying to do it yourself?
Well, one of the things of it is that I stress the importance of having a professional do it. It's just like when you go to a beauty shop. You know how to wash your hair, curl your hair, and you may even know how to cut your hair. But that beautician, she may know if your hair is damaged or certain things that your hair needs a certain type of care. That's the same thing for a tax professional. Yes, you can go and buy the tax software and you can go in and do it yourself. But if you're not understanding the different deductions, the tax software, what it does is it answers you specific questions. And if you are not knowing how to answer those specific questions, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you're more than likely leaving money on the table or deductions that you can normally deduct if you use a professional.
So the unique thing about you, which went during our previous conversation, you mentioned that You're not just a certified CPA, you're an EA. Can you tell us what that means and why that makes you give more leverage to those anywhere? They don't have to be in the state of Texas, they can be anywhere.
Well, as a EA, which is an enrolled agent, we are licensed to practice before the IRS, just as a CPA and a tax attorney is. The difference is that I'm able to go to any of the states and practice and don't have to have permission to. Whereas that a CPA, when they get a certified public accountant, it's particular for that state. And if they want to practice in another state, they have to have so many continuing hours to do that.
Okay. I noticed on your website you said that you help with grant proposals. Is that where you can list grant proposals and help me with it, or do I find it and come to you and you would help me process it?
Well, one of the things that I do is that if you are a non-for-profit organization and you wanted me to help you with the grant, I can help you, one, direct you to where the money is, help you two to fill out the contract to submit to get the grant.
Okay. Okay. And so why did you start your business?
I've been doing taxes for 30 plus years, and I started off working in a tax office, and there was some things that I saw that could be done better, some that I did not like that was, how can I say, I didn't like what was going on as far as the clients was concerned, the honesty, the lack of knowledge, because when I started off, I had a 2-month class, and I was thrown into doing tax returns, and I was unprepared. So I decided that I would prefer to do them and offer the services and have better quality and make sure that whatever I'm doing, I know what I'm doing, opposed to people going into the office and someone straight off the streets not really knowing anything about taxes preparing my tax return.
Okay. And so why should a consumer choose your business over someone they're already using?
The quality of service. I am not just when tax season is over with, I don't shut down. You're able to reach me at all times, even after tax season is over with, to get advice, have questions and concerns. I'm always there to answer my phones to assist you in whatever services you need, whether it's taxes or something else doing financials. It just doesn't stop when tax season is over with.
Okay, that's good to know. So you would be on my speed dial.
That's right. All calls.
So the average person doesn't know about finances. They're not great or a wizard with taxes. How do you communicate what needs to happen with someone who's just don't understand it? What techniques do you use?
Well, one of the text, I ask a lot of questions. Whenever I'm interviewing someone or sitting down there talking to someone, I ask them a lot of questions. Some of them may appear that I'm being nosy, but one of the things that I'm actually doing is trying to pull out information, because as I'm talking to them and getting that information, I'm in my head, I'm looking for different deductions. And also, once I prepare the taxes for them, I give them sound ways to help reduce their tax liability.
Okay. Why is it important for a startup or a home base or someone working out of their garage or out of their house or out of their car to become a legitimate business? Why is that so important?
Well, one of the main reason that it's important is that we always look at, oh, I don't want to get an IRS my money. But one of the things of it is, if you have a home-based business or operating out of your garage or out of your car, what happens is when you file those taxes, one, you have your income and your expenses that you write off. There's other deductions that you're not carrying, like your mileage expenses. But the most important thing of it is whatever product you're selling, you have to pay self-employment taxes. And what that self-employment tax, it takes care of your Social Security and Medicare. So when you go at retirement age of 67 or 70, whatever it is, that self-employment tax that you pay go into your Social Security and Medicare, which will allow you to draw your Social Security. Now, if you're working and you're paying into Social Security, that will also help increase the amount that you get when you retire.
Okay. So when I think of a tax person, I think they just serve everybody. Have you ever said, no, I think you need to find somebody else to do your taxes?
Yes, I have. Yes, ma'am. I fired plenty of people because one of the things of it is when you are going in and preparing taxes, it's an integrity. I have a problem with that word integrity issue. If a person comes to me and they're telling me, well, I'm expecting $10,000 back on my return. Well, how do you know you're getting $10,000 back? How do you know? And one of the things is there's many ways to get that money back. But what happens is for whatever reason, the IRS decides to audit you. They're, even though you're the one that's getting in trouble because you're responsible for what's on your tax return, it eventually comes back to me. And it's not worth me. It's an ethical issue, and it's not worth me losing my license to give you something that you don't deserve. In the long run, it may come back and hurt you.
Right. So what software do you use to process taxes? If someone started at home and used a certain software, so if I'm in business and I'm using QuickBooks and I'm using you as my professional accountant, do you use the same software or do you use a variety of softwares?
Well, I only use two. I use QuickBooks for people that most startup businesses use QuickBooks because it's user friendly. So I do use QuickBooks because it's compatible to their software. However, I do also use Drake accounting software as well as Drake tax services.
Okay. I never heard of Drake. Is that a popular brand?
Yes, it is. It is. It started off as a tax software brand, just like H&R Block and TurboTax have their tax software. It started off as that, and it has branched out into offering accounting systems as well.
Okay, it's called Drake. Okay, so would that be user friendly for the small business as well?
Well, that's two different entities because if they're using Drake accounting software, yes, it is. But the difference of it is if I'm using QuickBooks, what I pull from QuickBooks will not be compatible to Drake, but I can still use QuickBooks information to make it work with Drake because the QuickBooks is only giving me the financial information that I need, not the tax information. As an accountant, I need to go in and not manipulate is not the word, correct, because when you're putting in your income and your expenses in QuickBooks, you may not realize that something you're putting in as expense is not necessarily expense. So I will have to go in and reallocate certain expenses to where they need to be. And that's why I carry QuickBooks on my desktop because it allows me to work within your system.
Okay. So your business is really popular. You have a great Facebook page and your website is really nice. What other methods do you use to promote and market your business?
Actually, that's it. That's it. This year was the first year that I put up my Facebook page and I use the Instagram and my website. Usually my clients come from word of mouth. This is the first year I have actually done advertising. All of my clients come from word of mouth.
Okay. Well, did it increase business?
It does every year.
Okay. All right. So I saw on your Facebook page, can you tell us about the new 2021 child tax credit and how that works?
Oh, yes. That 2020 child tax credit, it's coming in two forms. You can elect to not have the monthly $300 monthly child. Well, first of all, let me go back. They're increasing the child tax credit from $2,000 to $3,000 for the year. So what's happening is it was supposed to happen effective July 15th. That's the scheduled date. What they're doing is they're allowing parents that have children from the age of newborn to 16 to get their money in advance. They will get $300 a month. They have to go into the IRS website and register. You can also go into the IRS website and elect not to have the $300 a month. And it's going to go by age. I think it's from, I'm not too sure because they haven't given the direct age. I think it's from newborn to like 10. You get the $3,000 and then it, 300, I'm sorry. And then it will decrease. Or you can elect to go in and not have the $300 a month and take it at the end of the year like you normally do. However, what's going to happen from July to December, the people that elect not to get it, they will not get that credit for that time.
Okay. So they have to file it at the end of the year when they do their taxes.
Correct.
Okay. So what another item I saw that you really harp on is having good credit. What are items that help you have great credit, and what things happen to make your credit go down? Because I see my which I have good credit, but it goes up a point, and say, oh, you dropped a point. What happens to make these points move?
Well, one of the things that happen is, let's say you have a credit card and you have to keep your credit card below 30%. So if you have a credit card that's $12,000 and you owe $7,000 on it, that's going to make your credit score go down. I do not advise or suggest that a person, okay, I'm going to pay my credit card off and then close the account. Because once you close that account, that drops your score too. And one of the things about increasing your credit score and making your credit score go up is making sure that you have consistent on-time payments. Also, one of the things that will hurt your credit is having too much credit for your debt to ratio income.
Okay. All right. So what is the best way to fix your credit? I see that a lot on Facebook. People are advertising, we can help fix your credit. What is the best way to fix your credit?
Well, you know what? And I look at that and it's not a bad thing. I always tell people, if you have the time to do it, you can fix your credit. And you can do it yourself. And again, it's the difference between doing it yourself and hiring a professional. And one of the things that you can do is dispute what's on your credit report. Because what happens is, once someone puts something in your credit report, here, I'm going to give you an example. My name is Hazel Robinson. At one time, my name was Hazel Durden. And I know she's going to see this. And my sister-in-law name was Hazel Daniels. So, when they put the information on my credit report, they had my name, but her address. So I had to go in and dispute that because that's not me. That's not my address, because they just pull records and they just, okay, well, this person is this person. So if the names are similar and everything, okay, it must be that. So you need to monitor your credit report and look at it. And things that are not right on your credit report, you need to file a dispute. Also, if it's over 7 years, you need to file a dispute on that. And another thing that people don't know, inquiries will fall off within 2 years. And if they don't fall off, you need to file a dispute. And also, even with child support, some people have child support that's sitting on their credit that's making their credit report really, really bad. When after so long, child support is supposed to fall off as well.
Right.
And to dispute it. If you don't dispute it, it will stay there, and they will allow the child support agency to continue to report it.
Okay. All right. So now this one I'm really interested in. How to get student loans forgiven? I mean, I pay it, but I want to get rid of it. How do you get them forgiven?
Okay, well, there's a couple of ways to get them forgiven. One of them is the income-based repayment program. You can go into www.fasa.gov and you can file FASA.gov, yes. And you can file for income-based repayment, and it goes by your income. And if you're on this income-based repayment program, after 10 years, your student loans are forgiven. They're completely wiped off. Another thing that they have is called public service. If you work for a public service a company, whether it's a hospital, any non-for-profit, you can file for public service, which they completely freeze your student loans, and after 10 years, they are automatically forgiven.
Okay. So they freeze it and you don't pay for it, and then 10 years pass by and they're forgiven, or after 10 years they're forgiven?
No, in 10 years it's forgiven. But the thing with the public service, what you
Mm-hmm.
have to realize is that you have to work for a public service company for
Mm-hmm.
10 years. So from the moment you apply for it, it starts then, not
Okay.
prior service. But if you are on the income-based repayment program, from the moment you start up to 10 years. That's correct, because what happens is either with the income base, they either zero it out depending on your income, or they give you a lower payment. And anything after that 10 years is forgiven and wiped off.
Okay. Okay. So another hot topic today in finance is the PPP loans.
Okay.
Some people say you don't have to pay them back. Some people say you do. Which is correct?
You don't. Some of them, depending on the situation, it's in between. So with the PPP, they are doing the forgiveness of the loans. Actually, for the ones that was in 2019, they're sending out a link for you to apply for it now for the forgiveness. But it's only forgiven if you have used the loan for your business to substantiate your business, or like rent, supplies. And if you had employees payroll, then they are forgiving those. That is correct.
Okay. But if you can't produce those documents, then you have to pay it back and pay the interest rate, correct?
Absolutely.
And so I also saw that there's been a pretty substantial number of arrests for people who falsified documents to get these loans.
And they're still coming, because what happened is they had the loan for the EDIL loan, and when it first started out, they was giving you $1,000 for employees, and this part of the EDIL loan was forgiven. So a lot of people was going in there creating businesses, and they was going in there filing for, saying I had 10 employees, and they got that $10,000 that was forgivable, and they didn't have loans. They was putting it on those green dot cards and everything. So when it first came out, the government didn't know how to handle this situation with the pandemic. So they was just approving everybody, and they really wasn't asking for documentation. So the second go around, they turned around and they took a good look at the situation, and they realized it. So what happened was some of the banks was freezing because it was going into other people's personal accounts opposed to their business accounts. So the banks was actually freezing those loans because they flagged them as fraudulent. And so now what's happening with the PPP and the EDIL loan, they are starting to ask for a substantial amount of information to verify that you are actually a legitimate business before they even give you anything now.
Okay. All right. And so the people who have received those loans, when will those loans come due? Is it in 3 years? When will they come due?
Some of them was in 2 years. They had to start paying it back. Some was 2, some was a year. After a year, you start making the payments, but you can make the payments before then. So if you are with the EDIL loan, they were saying a year, and then it goes on for 30 years.
Okay, 30 years. Wow.
Yeah, there's no prepayment penalty if you decide to pay it off.
Okay. So another thing that I saw that's pretty interesting. So I'm not a gambler, but I didn't know you can deduct your gambling losses.
Yes, you can deduct your gambling losses. Now, that's a catch-22 situation. If you win $1,500, you have to report that as income. However, if you do not itemize, you can't deduct it. However, if you won $50,000, because of the way the itemized deduction is set up, that if you're single, you have to have at least $12,000. You can write that $50,000 off on your Schedule A of itemization, because you can only write off up to what your winnings were.
Okay. All right. So when you work with your customers and they owe the IRS, how can you help them, and how does that process work?
Well, if my customers owe the IRS, I always it's something what I always do is give them the option that they can do an installment method, so they can go in and make installment arrangements for it, and then at some point we can do an abatement letter to reduce if they haven't paid the IRS. We can reduce their penalties and interest. But I always advise them that if they do owe the IRS, if they only can pay them $25, please make arrangements to pay them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, yes, because they have an installment method, so you don't have to pay it up front.
What is the interest rate when you owe IRS, or does it vary?
It varies on the amount that you owe.
Okay.
So I don't know that amount offhand.
Okay. All right. What are the top 5 items that everyone should make sure they include on their taxes?
Their social security number, their dependents, if they have interest that they need to be deducting, they need to make sure that's on there. I think those are the most important. If you have children, make sure you have all of those. And what people don't know is something, if you're taking care of your child and they're over 26 and you pay over half of the support for them, you can do something called a head of household qualifier that can still allow you to be head of household even though your child is working and you're still paying the bill. So I think that's important for them to know, and make sure they just get all the deductions and credits that is owed to them.
Okay. So I always used to get confused. Head of household is only when you have children. I always thought it's my home, I pay the mortgage, I'm working, I'm head of household. Is that only when you have children?
Yes, it is. And that's why I mentioned the head of household qualifier. So in order to become head of household, you have to have a qualifying child that lives with you that you support. However, there's this thing called a head of household qualifier, that your child can live in a house with you even though they're working. They could be making $35,000 a year. If they're living in the household and you're paying over 50% of that support, you do not get to claim them as an exemption, but you can still claim them as a head of household qualifier that gives you the head of household status. And in turn, that still allows them to file their taxes and take the necessary exemptions that they are due them.
Okay. All right. So as a small business myself, what advice can you give me about my bookkeeping and things I should be making sure I track?
One of the things, if you're out there, track your mileage. Make sure that you're keeping up with your receipts, your gas, and any receipts that you are having towards your business. Making sure you are separating your business from your personal. That's the most important thing, because a lot of people that are small businesses, they just put all their money into their personal accounts, and then when they're audited, they don't have a separation. And that's the most important thing. And make sure you keep a detailed transaction, because we never know what the IRS is going to look for. So you make sure that all of your business expenses and everything is separated from your personal.
Would you say it's important that I also have a business credit card so that I'm not using my personal? Is that a good separation as well?
That's a good separation, and that also helps you to establish business credit.
Okay, that's good. So how can you help small businesses grow?
Well, one of the things that I do is I work with them to show them ways of saving money, show them ways of how they can go in and make the situation or their activities better, how to cut costs, show them in areas where they're losing money and where they're making money. And that's if I'm managing their books, because I'm keeping track of their expenses, and I will go in and say, hey, you did this much on these expenses, you can cut it here and increase here, and that'll help grow your business.
Okay. What can I use as a good business tool? What software can I personally use to help track my expenses and revenue that's not too expensive, that kind of caters to, the small business?
Again, the perfect one is QuickBooks.
Okay.
Because it's not expensive. And the good thing about QuickBooks is that they have the online software that you don't have to go in and purchase the software, and then they have the one where you can just get the disc as well, and that's the least expensive software. Some people like what they call Sage now, which is Peachtree, but QuickBooks is the one that's more user friendly.
Okay. So I was in a conference the other day, an online conference, and one thing they kept talking about was your break-even point.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean in terms of finances for businesses?
Your break-even point is where it's that you're zero. Your break-even point is when you have no tax liability. Your expenses and your deductions total out and it's zero. There's no gain and there's no loss. That's your break-even point.
Okay. How can small businesses, what tool can small businesses use other than QuickBooks to manage their cash flow? What knowledge should they have to be better financial managers?
Well, one of the things of it is that I usually tell someone when you're doing your business, make sure after your expenses, have a look at your money, what's coming in and what's going out. Keep a track of that, and also pay your business as well as yourself, because a lot of people will take all the money they're making and put it back into their business. And one of the things, when you're putting everything that you're making back into the business, you're not seeing a growth, because what you're constantly spending and you're not seeing anything. So what I usually tell them is that whatever you invested in there, anything over that is a profit. You take a percentage of that and you keep it towards just the business, pay yourself, and then put the rest and invest it. And then you can see where your money's growing, opposed to just taking everything and putting it back into the business.
Okay.
I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, you did. You did. Absolutely, you did. So what are some common mistakes that someone new to business or small businesses make?
Not being, I'm going to say, not marketing themselves as well, and again, putting everything back into the business, opposed to doing the separation and making sure that they separate the two.
Okay. So is there anything else you'd like us to know about your business, Hazel?
No, I think we answered it all.
You think we got it all? So I'm going to put up this show. You can tell everyone how to contact you.
Yes, that is correct. That is exactly how to contact me.
So her website is HIStaxservice.com. You can also follow her on Facebook and Instagram under HIS Tax Services. And her phone number is 817-262-8774. And her email is histaxservice@gmail.com. And the services that she offers are general accounting and bookkeeping, accounts payable, payroll, banking, tax preparation, including individual, partnerships, and corporations, grant proposal development, leadership, and problem solving. If you need any tax service, please reach out to Hazel. And so I think that is all that we have for today. And so I appreciate everybody attending. The next time that we are online, hold on one second. Let me take this off 1 second. I think we have a question as well. Okay, there we go. Let's see, we have a comment over here. The next time that we meet, it will be in 2 weeks. We won't meet next week because it's Father's Day. And we'll talk to Natalie Brown, who's a financial educator. So I look forward to speaking with her as well. Everybody, thank you for joining. Thank you, Hazel, and we'll talk more.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Good night, everybody.